Apathy. It's a major issue among middle schoolers today. In a previous course at Union University, I corresponded with an ELA teacher at my son's middle school in Fayette County. Apathy was one of the major issues that she cited. At the time, however, I had no idea how far-reaching this issue truly was. It was only once I became a middle school teacher myself and had my own classroom that I saw it with my own eyes. Apathy is one of the major issues which we must strive to overcome. So what are the things that compete for the attention of our students in our quest as middle school ELA teachers to develop an interest in reading? Television and video games and cell phones. Why would I want to read a book when I could watch a show on television? I could play Fortnite on the computer, or I could text some more on my cell phone. Sleeping. Why would I want to read a book when I could just sleep all morning long? And you know what? I think most of our middle schoolers would rather even clean the toilet than read a book. So how do we address this dilemma? In order to get some insight, I checked out an article titled "The Relationship Between English Language Arts Teachers' Use of Instructional Strategies and Young Adolescents' Reading Motivation, Engagement, and Preference." Let's look at this study and see what we can glean that might help us in our effort to better motivate our students as readers. This article was published by the Journal of Education and Learning in Volume 3, Number 2, in 2014. The Journal of Education and Learning is published by the Canadian Centre of Science and Education. The authors of this article were Michelle Veruza, Richard Sinatra, Robert Eschenauer, and Brett Elizabeth Blake, all affiliated with the School of Education at St. John's University in Queens, New York. Motivation. It's one of the biggest challenges that we face today as ELA teachers, especially the struggle to motivate our students to enjoy reading. Reading motivation is defined in this article as an individual student's excitement, enjoyment, and desire to read, as well as the ability to remain on task when assigned specific readings. Reading motivation is often affected by a student's feelings toward the act of reading. It is affected by a teacher's instructional orientation or methods of doing things, relationships with students, and self-efficacy, or the teacher's personal self-esteem as a teacher. Reading motivation is important because students who were positively motivated to read were found to be more likely to engage in reading activities because they believed in their abilities to succeed because of the skills they possessed. This article informs us of a stark and terrifying reality. Reading motivation is in jeopardy. Positive attitudes toward reading tend to progressively decrease as students move up in grade level. But reading motivation is in our hands to a large degree. A teacher's instructional orientation, coupled with supportive teacher-student relationships, has been shown to be extremely important in influencing a student's view on learning and motivation. Reading motivation remains very much a mystery. It has not been clear what is causing the downturn of reading motivation as age increases. Thus, this study sought to learn more on the topic. The researchers who performed this study posed 4 research questions in their quest. Number 1, do individual ELA class groups taught by the same ELA teacher indicate change in motivation as measured by the Motivation to Read Questionnaire, or MRQ, over one academic year? Number two, what classroom strategies are used more frequently in an ELA classroom where reading motivation may have changed over time? Number three, according to students, what types of reading do they do and enjoy? Number four, according to teachers, how do they motivate students to read in their learning environments? Let's discuss the method of this project. During the 2011-12 school year, the researchers performed a study involving 10 parochial schools in New York for one academic year. 2 of the schools were located in Manhattan, 5 were located in Queens, 1 was located in Brooklyn, and 2 were located in Suffolk County of Long Island. A total of 17 teachers and 414 students participated in the study. All students completed the MRQ, or Motivation to Read questionnaire. All students completed a 2-question reading behavior survey. All students completed a class strategies checklist before and after the study to determine their preferred reading activities. All teachers completed a similar class strategies checklist, along with a survey, which is shown below. The 17 teachers taught all year using their usual teaching strategies. Teachers did not alter their styles of teaching for the study. Survey results from the end of the year were compared to survey results from the beginning of the year. Data from the surveys and comparisons was used to determine whether or not motivation, as measured in 9 different attitudes of learning, had changed. If so, what had caused or influenced these changes? A comparison of pre- and post-study data produced the following results. Look closely at the chart on the screen. What you'll notice, sadly, is a lot of negative signs and only one non-negative sign on the entire chart. Let's see what that means. Sadly, results of the story were pretty grim. Motivation to read went down in every overall area except for challenge in the 7th grade. However, there were some individual teacher groups, as not reflected in the previous chart, who went up in certain areas. The area of challenge did improve in 7 of the 17 teacher groups. The area of curiosity improved in 6 of the 17 teacher groups, and the area of competition improved in 5 of the 17 teacher groups. The biggest overall loss occurred in the area of social. Social was the only area to go down in all 17 teacher groups. Surveys and questionnaires used in the study showed that these were the strategies shown to be most effective in improving motivation: group work, encouragement, clear instructions, positive feedback, getting along with students, fun activities, and challenging activities. These were the types of activities most enjoyed by the students: teacher read-alouds, reading plays, reading short stories, silent reading, and student read-alouds. The least popular activities were book discussions and reading of novels. So what was the conclusion of this study? The challenge of reading motivation is perhaps far greater than we had even realized. In spite of a wide variety of techniques, overall motivation to read went down in nearly every area. However, successful teachers motivated their students through high interaction, offering challenging literacy activities, and engaging students in discussions about what they read. Students in this study also showed a high interest in texting and email. Teachers should look for a way to incorporate these and similar technologies into their literacy techniques. Teachers should also rely heavily on the techniques and strategies referenced earlier from the findings in an effort to develop student interest. So how does this article relate to this course? According to the syllabus, this course is about a teacher's ability, quote, to consider the diversity of students and learning styles that they will encounter in their classrooms, as well as the instructional and curricular needs that will appear, end of quote. The course description from the syllabus states that we want to, quote, optimize student learning through using standards as a basis for lesson and assessment design in order to foster maximum student engagement and achievement, end of quote. A specific emphasis of this course is the implementation of standards into our pedagogical models. Upon introducing the reading standard for teachers, the state of Tennessee says the following in its own official ELA standards document. As the young adult author Walter Dean Myers famously stated in almost every interview, reading is not optional. In this age of information, students and employees must be able to read detailed, complex text to interpret the world around them, be it the literary world, the natural world, the academic world, or the work world. Reading is a matter of survival. Thus, as a middle school ELA teacher, I could think of nothing more practical to my own situation than to study the material covered in this article. Using the findings of this article, I will be able to take specific and practical steps to be more effective in the teaching of literacy. How can the information in my chosen article help me become a better educational leader? My role as an ELA teacher is one of the most important in the field of education. While I do respect and very much admire teachers of all subjects, I cannot deny the following facts. My subject area is the one which addresses literacy and comprehension. Most other subjects rely on literacy and comprehension as a foundation. For example, middle school science is primarily a reading class. Middle school social studies is primarily a reading class. So if I am not competent in the teaching of literacy, there will be a ripple effect throughout the school. So it's very important that I become familiar with what has worked and what has not worked for others. Although the study does have its limitations, and these were addressed in the document, though not covered in my summary, I can use it to get a good general idea of what is well perceived and what is not so well perceived by my students. Overall, I am fighting an uphill battle in my efforts to develop a love for reading. However, there are things that do tend to be well perceived by the students. Finally, I should use high interaction, challenging literacy activities, and engaging discussion to motivate my students. Ray Bradbury, famous author and screenwriter, once said, "You don't have to burn books to destroy a culture. Just get people to stop reading them." And that, fellow educators, is what we must ensure never happens.